unfortunately for Aspinall, he's going to have to kind of like go backwards in his mind a little bit because I'm sure in his head he's got John Jones, he's got Stipe Miocic, these monster names. You got the GOAT of the heavyweight division in most people's eyes, and
the GOAT of MMA, probably.
And then you got the GOAT of MMA and John Jones. These are two big money maker fights for him and huge for his legacy. And guess what?
He ain't getting neither one of them.
He just was able to look at it. So this interim belt, John Jones he has a good point, man. What is it?
Aljamain, it ain't shit. It ain't shit. Mother.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the weekly scraps. It is a new year, and I can't believe who is here. I got someone who never has any fear, the one and only Chris Weidman. I didn't have nothing else to
now
tell you.
Now I feel like I'm going to shed a tear. That's how you finish it.
Bars, baby, yeah, bars.
Listen, it's a pleasure to be on this set. This is a high-end production you have set up here in your house. This is high level.
This is not my house. This is a studio.
This is a studio. Yeah. This is a studio, and it really is nice to see. It's inspiring. You know, you're like a little brother to me, and it's like you still inspire me every day.
Yeah, that's good. That's good to hear.
Hanging out with you, man, it's an inspiration, man. I appreciate it.
I can never tell if he's breaking my balls.
Well,
you know what I mean?
I'm like, you know, you can't give a compliment like hardcore like that. You gotta have to like backhand it a little bit, otherwise it gets awkward.
A little bit.
So I had to bust your balls a little bit.
So I did Chris's show a while back. Now you were supposed to actually come on my show like a while ago. I just didn't feel like I had anything really. But this is actually better to have you here.
Yeah.
In Vegas.
Yeah, you've never asked me to be on your show. That's why I've never been on your show.
That's true, but
you don't think I'm good content?
Nah, I just don't want to feel like I'm interviewing someone. Yeah. You know, because I feel like when I came on yours, it was more like an interview style, like the way most people do.
Well, I was doing a radio show.
Yes,
I was on Sirius XM, just so people know, which is not happening anymore. But
that's done.
Yeah, that's done. So I was doing a year with them where it was an hour segment, but it was broken up into 4 different parts. So the first part would be me talking, you know, for 15 minutes. The next part would be bringing in Aljo. The next part would be me bringing in Gaethje. And then the last would be me with my final thoughts.
Okay.
But I had short time with the guests. So it had to be like, I got to ask them questions. It wasn't conversational where you could kind of just BS like this because it was short. You know, like 15 minutes per person.
And I think that's the difference because sometimes people ask me like, yo, when I'm going to come on the show? I'm like, yo, I don't know if you want to come on the show because it's like I'm not doing an interview. Like I'm breaking down fights. I want to analyze the fights. That's what I want to do. I want to talk shit, but talk shit about the fights. You know, I think that's way more fun. They kind of just ask them about like the daily. So how do you feel about this training camp? What do you think you're going to do different? Yeah. Like that's cool, but I don't want to be one of the guys who's doing that with everyone else.
And then what you got to do when you have a short time like that, you need numbers,
right?
Rush. So you got to have to ask them the questions. You like to get good questions to get good answers out of people. I think it takes some rapport building, right? Yeah. Like you don't just jump in and ask them questions that they don't really want to answer unless you kind of build a rapport with them. But when you have a 15-minute segment to do that, you kind of have to ask those uncomfortable questions because you need those answers to be able to put it out on the social media to get people to watch your show.
Yes, it's kind of like Cat
awkward.
Williams.
It's like you're taking advantage of them a little bit.
It's like Cat Williams.
You got to oil him up a little bit.
Yeah,
you got P. Diddy at it.
When Diddy want to play, he want to play. You got to tell him no.
Yeah. I watched some of it, man. I didn't even see that part yet.
Yo, it's hilarious, bro. When you get to it, it's just Cat Williams, and he's just doing this the whole time.
He's so funny. But you know what?
He's like, did he like to play?
Tell you what.
But sometimes you got to tell him.
You know what I took out of that interview, and I haven't seen it all yet, is how smart that dude is.
Yeah.
He is a brilliant dude.
So here
I really think he's high level, high IQ, very smart, with good intentions.
I agree.
Morally strong.
I agree.
I like this guy.
So my friends and I were going back and forth if he's a hater or not. And if he's a hater of hating on someone that's trying to come up in the black community. So I was just kind of like, I get what you're saying, but it's hard for me to call him a hater when he has, I felt like, I don't know any direct people he's pulled up, but I feel like he gives a lot of props and he's very positive in his outlook and approach to a lot of people. It's just, I feel if it's someone he just doesn't like. So here it is, the craft. How many people do we know that come into our sport and if they kind of get like an easier road to a championship, you feel like everything is being given to them when you work your butt off, you don't get the recognition that you probably deserve because you're not doing certain amount of things that said boss or the gatekeeper who has the openings for you to get into those positions with the easier fights. It's a little bit different, but in terms of entertainment, it's kind of similar. Like, we kind of low-key hate on those people too, and that's what pretty much what I was trying to tell him. Like, I get where Cat's coming from. Yeah, he could just take the high road, but I think if he sees somebody coming in who never sold out a show, never sold out a show, and now they're headlining and they have a movie and all these other things, you're kind of looking at it like, yeah, I'm a little salty you got all that. Like, I'm here. I'm funny too. I'm over here grinding. I'm actually selling out shows. Why I didn't get this opportunity? So I don't know. I
don't think he's hating at all because he's already done everything. I think he's bigger than them all. He is one of the kings of comedy forever. Like,
I agree.
And I think when he sees someone doing it, not the way he thinks a champion should be brought up and become a champion.
Yeah.
He's just going to be honest about it. I don't think he's throwing salt on their name like he doesn't want them to be successful. He's just kind of calling a spade a spade.
Yeah.
I think he's just being honest. I don't think it's hating because he doesn't want to tear that guy down and bring himself up. He's cool with everybody coming up, but he's just being honest about, hey, this dude's acting like he's something that he's not, and he's going to call him out on it.
Yeah, he was just saying some stuff like he's funny in real life. This other guy is not. And I get what he was saying. It's tough.
But to also go back, because I don't know if I watched more of it than you or not, but he does say, like, he brings up a lot of people. I think he's blessed a lot of people, and I think even on the road he does a lot of black women is what he brings with him because he feels like it's the hardest for them to make money, and so I think he actually mentioned that on the show. Women in general, but I also think black women.
Well, there was that one girl, Tiffany Haddish, where he was kind of saying she's not funny at all, and was kind of roasting her a little bit. And I don't think it was wrong. I just think, like you said, I think he's just calling it what it is. But at the same time, I respect Kevin Hart because he elevated her and gave her a platform when she necessarily didn't have like those opportunities. I don't know exactly like verbatim what their career choices were looking like, but Kevin Hart did a lot for a lot of people.
What did he say about Kevin Hart? I didn't see that part.
So there's a timeline. My boy sent me an article. You actually know him, Tope.
Okay.
He sent me an article. And it showed the timeline of Cat Williams kind of saying some stuff a couple of different times in different years. And Kevin Hart didn't really respond. And then when he did, he kind of apologized. Cat Williams apologized. And then he said whatever he did. And then he attacked Tiffany Haddish. And then when he attacked her, Kevin jumped to her defense on The Breakfast Club. And then it started the beef all over again. And then he had
what was he saying? What do we know what he actually said about Kevin Hart?
I wish I could just pull this article up right now.
All right, so you don't really know, but you just knew.
Like I read the article.
He came at him a little bit.
He came at him a little bit, but I don't think it was anything like super malicious. It was just like, I think he was just saying like, "Yo, man, you're just not me."
Yeah.
And I can understand that. It's just like when people talk like, I hate having to use this guy's name because they just think, oh, he's still salty. I'm like, dude, I don't give a shit. I made my money. I don't care. But when you talk about someone who's gotten to a chance to fight for a championship and on their resume they fought no one in the top 5 or maybe one in the top 5, when I had to fight 3 top 5 people, I had to go on a crazy win streak in order to get to a title championship. And even then, it still wasn't enough. If the guys I beat didn't beat these other guys where it made me the common winner, common opponents, I wouldn't have gotten the title shot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because Corey Sandhagen beat Marlon Moraes, Corey Sandhagen beat Frankie Edgar, and there was one other guy I think he beat where it kind of removed all challengers, where it's just, well, you got to go with the guy that's still there because he just beat this guy in 2 minutes. It's like you can't go with the other guy. It doesn't make any sense. Yeah. And then the guy's coming off. So I just look at resumes because I'm a purist. I like that aspect of merit. Like, man, you come in and you beat a killer's row. Like, I respect that way more than someone who comes in and you only have to win one time and then you get a shot. Like, it's still hard to do. Like, I still credit that, but it's just how much harder is it to roll the dice against a killer's row of tough dudes and get a shot versus someone who kind of comes in. So I get that relatability in that sense.
I'm a purist at heart too, but I've been around the game long enough to know is that you have no control over anybody's destiny and how they're going to get to the top and what they do to get there. And so I think it only hurts you, and I'm not talking about you, but talking about myself, it only hurts the person who is dwelling on that and upset about it because it's kind of BS. Like, why is this guy getting this opportunity when he didn't do the things that some other people have done?
Yeah.
And so you could be salty on it, but it only hurts you at the end of the day. So I think it's better just to kind of root for everybody and everybody has different paths, and some paths are harder than others, and you just have to try to be happy for them, because otherwise it's going to be hurting you. It's not hurting them.
No, not at all.
That's the thing. So they're in your head, and we can't give them that space. It has to be, listen, I'm happy for everybody, good for them. That's it.
Yeah.
Look at Alex Pereira. Alex Pereira, because of Adesanya, got to ride up. He didn't go against any wrestlers or anything. He got to ride up to get that fight with Adesanya, and then he made the most of it. Like, what's his record? 9-1 or 9-2?
Yeah, something like that.
He is
Not
now
many
he's going to go down as one of the greatest fighters ever. Like, he's a champ. Like, this is kind of crazy. Well, I guess he's not champ. He won in 2 different divisions.
Yeah, but I just look at it like I respect that still. Like, I can respect that hustle and that grind. But then if someone else comes in, if you ask me which guy is greater, the guy who went through the gauntlet and beat those guys, I'm like, yo, that guy he's a badass, but this guy's the real badass. That's just the way I look at it. I'm not gonna say the other guy ain't a badass. Like,
I always thought of it by title defenses. That's the way I always, in my head, who has the most title defenses. I thought title defense is the hardest thing to pull off.
but then if you get to pick and choose your title defenses,
And this
then
is
it's like it changes the conversation again.
But then we get salty because it's just not going to be.
Yeah, no one
the way
wins.
we want.
No one
And
wins.
this game has turned into a business. Also, I could be salty. Bo Nickel is getting the fights that work for him. Up and coming. Listen, I had a great wrestling background. I was undefeated coming up. I was an undefeated world champion. They were throwing whoever was a tough test at me all the time. There was no like, hey, let's build up this kid Weidman. We think he could be a world champion. Nobody was given that opportunity back in the day. Now it's a public traded company. In my mind, that's probably why things happen like this now.
Business
and it's
decision.
smart business wise. If you have a guy who you think is a top prospect and you think he has a potential to have a big fan base, let's give him these setup fights to where he's going to grow with us. And then favorable matchups when it matters. Boom, let's get this kid the belt. Now we're going to have this country aligned with us. It makes sense. Now, inside of me, it's like, man, that's kind of bullshit. Like, but I'll be wasting my own time and hurting myself even thinking that way. So you just got to be like, I'm happy for these guys. Good for him.
Yeah, I'm definitely happy for all these guys. I even say it every time. I'm like, I hope all these fighters who come through the UFC make a shit ton of money because I know how hard it is and that struggle and that grind, working 2-3 jobs, trying to get to where you want to be, and hopefully it works out, and it doesn't work out for everybody.
Yeah. And there's money for everybody, right? There's enough money to go around. And I was just listening to somebody recently. I don't know if it was a podcast or some Instagram meme or whatever it was, but it made sense. And it's kind of a poor man's way of thinking. I kind of grew up poor. You grew up poor. I think it's most fighters kind of. And you always look into like, all right, I got this over here. I don't want them. I don't want this dude over here taking what I have. So you kind of like try to take away from them and you try to build your thing. But the right way to be thinking is like, listen, there's enough money for everybody. The more Aljo's big, the more he brings the sport up, the more I could jump in. We're all making more money together. Yeah.
That's like the way we should look at it.
But the way we are, just I don't know if it's the way you grew up or the way it's just a human instinct to have that, like where you want to like bring other people down so it brings you up. And it's kind of like a hater mentality.
It is a crab in a barrel mentality.
Yeah.
Like you don't need to do that. My only, I don't want to say pushback, but my only thing that I say is like when people will start talking about conversation of who the best is, or and I don't even consider myself in the sense of like, oh, I'm the greatest of all time at bantamweight. But I go like, if you look at my resume, compare who I fought compared to a lot of these other guys, I'm just like, if you're gonna have this conversation with me, just know I'm going to stick by my guns and I'm going to say how I feel. And I'm going to tell you straight like how it is. Yeah. And that's why I'm saying with the Cat Williams, I feel him on that. And that's why I was trying to convey that to my boys. I'm like, I just don't think he's really hating. But then there was one thing that he said. I was like, man, he kind of went out of his way to kind of say that. He didn't need to say that part. That was like an extra dig. Nah, it was funny though. But it was just his Cat Williams being Cat. But that part was a little salty for me. But for the most part, I feel like what he did on the Shannon Sharp interview, the little Shake Shake Club.
That's the interview we're talking about, right?
Yeah, that's the big one.
Oh, he did other ones too?
He did. No. But this was
he just blew up out of nowhere. He was all over my timeline. I'm like, what's going on with Cat Williams?
Because a whole bunch of controversy. He's talking shit about a lot of people.
Sharp,
But again, I don't think it was really talking shit. He just calling them out, like saying like these people aren't funny because when they were coming up, like they're funny people, but in the sense of he was grading them on the criteria of how he grades himself. So I respect that. Yeah. He's not grading them as just like you're just not funny. He's like, he's grading himself based on this, laughs, or whatever, their metric.
Yeah.
In the same way I grade somebody, like you were saying, title defenses. But I go, well, if this guy fought a killer's road to get to the title defenses, he gets burnt out and he gets to the title and he only defends it 1 or 2 times, but he beat all the other guys who are ranked. to me, that's still pretty adequate for me to look at that and be like, well, this guy. It's kind of like the
career.
Khabib argument.
Yeah.
It's like people say, is he the greatest lightweight of all time? I'm like, there's a debate there because he only fought X amount of times. And I feel if you roll the dice more than somebody else, there's just more chances for you to become unlucky. And I think that's the best term. I don't want to say lose because Khabib was one of the best. But to say he was as active as anyone else and to come back.
How many title defenses did he have?
I think 3.
Okay.
Gaethje, well, he won it, the vacant belt with Al. Then it was, I don't know, they're not in order. Poirier, Gaethje, and...
Did he fight Oliveira?
No,
he finished with Gaethje.
He finished with Gaethje.
That was a triangle. Poirier, rear naked choke, and I'm not sure if it was Charles Oliveira in there. I'm not sure. I think there was one more.
I'm gonna try to fact check it.
But yeah, like, and I don't. He's unbelievable, but I agree with you.
I just think you're taking more risk.
At some point, you're
McGregor. How do we forget that?
Oh yeah, that's the biggest one, probably the biggest fight of all time. Yeah, exactly.
We forgot the McGregor.
It's too obvious. Yeah, but going back to what you were saying, the criteria that Cat Williams is judging these comedians on is the criteria that he judges himself on. So it's very high level. And I was actually talking to DC about this because we were talking about one of these up and comers. This is maybe Shafkat before he was fighting Wonderboy. I'm like, do you really think he was that good? Like with the Jeff Neal fight, he got hit a lot, man. Like, do you like?
You're speaking my language.
So I'm like, I don't know. I see the weaknesses. I'm like. Because in my head, I'm like, is he going to be a champ? And is he going to be a champ that like is able to hold up in title defenses? And that's the way I kind of judge people. And in his credit, he's like, you can't like someone could be a killer and not become a champion.
Yeah,
like they can still.
This up for you.
This?
Yeah, you can slide the whole desk.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
and he's right. Like I'm always judging people based on like, all right, are they going to be a champion? If not, I'm like, they're okay. They're good. They're great. They're tough. They have great abilities. But if I see weaknesses that could be exploited, and I'm like, is he really going to become a champion? Like, oh, if he faces a good wrestler, and I think he's in trouble, or if he faces a good striker, I think he's in trouble. I'm like, I'll play that in my mind. So I could be a little harsh too with the way I look at fighters.
Yeah, the way we judge people, and it's not saying that they're not good. It's just I'm just looking at them in the purest way of competition against their challengers, their potential opponents.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, how would he really do with everybody else? And how long could he actually stay on top? I mean, once upon a time, Jan was supposed to be the next coming of Christ for the bantamweight division. And now, I'm not saying his fights weren't close, but except for the Marab, that was a one-sided whooping. No. But I even think mine was, split decision, whatever. I'm not even. I just think
it was a dominant win, though.
I thought it was dominant in the sense of like, well,
scorecard dominant. Yeah.
If I didn't do much, then what did he do? That's all I was saying. It was like, but whatever. I just think when we look at that, so this was my whole argument. Just like I didn't know if he was really a hater. I just felt like at the end of it, I did say like I think he could have done better just building it up and been more PC about like, listen, man, if you're gonna call somebody one of the best, they need to have sold out shows. They need to have headline shows. They need to have done X amount of things for them to be in my category of one of the best. Mm-hmm. I think he could have went about it a little bit better, but he just went the Cat Williams route.
And that's why we're talking about it.
Yeah.
Look, this is the whole beginning of the segment right now is because he wasn't PG about anything.
Yeah.
He was just, or PC about anything. He was just as real as it gets from his perspective, unapologetically. This is what he thinks. And that's what you want from people is just honesty. Just be honest. With
the little turban on his head.
How much whiskey did they drink? That's Shea whiskey. I need some of that. They did a great job propping that up there.
A little cognac. I gotta get. I want to try to support.
We need some of that. We need some of that rum.
The Funk Harbor.
We need that Funk Harbor.
Yeah, I gotta talk to my guys, man. I'm like, yo, man, you guys are dragging your feet. We gotta get this thing launched. We're supposed to be ready to take online sales. Is literally the label that we're waiting for. The new label.
I'll tell you one thing. Me, my whole community that I live in. Everybody drinks, and we will definitely. Everyone's gonna be buying some Funk Harbor for sure.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah,
it's gonna be good, man. I'm telling you. Did you try it? You had it at the dinner, right?
It was really good, smooth.
That was like smooth. I was like so
happy. And then I went to Jamaica, and I tried some of their best rum out there, and I'm telling you, yours is right up there with the top rum they have in Jamaica.
Yeah,
there's some legit rum you got there, man. We just gotta get the sales going. We gotta get that label made.
And speaking of runs, I got some down here when we did our tasting test. But yeah, that was my whole thing about Cat Williams because it was such a big thing. I was like, I feel like we kind of have to talk about that because the whole world is talking about it.
Yeah, 100%.
I told my boys at the end of it, at the end of the conversation, I go, I can't believe we're sitting here talking about another man's play. I feel like we're in high school again. It's like another man's drama with his high school community friends. Like that's what the world has become.
And
social media.
And did he hurt Kevin Hart? Did he hurt Tiffany Haddish? Did he hurt P Diddy? Maybe, but people are talking about him right now.
He talked about Ludacris. Ludacris went in and got a deal, and he came back and he said.
One guy had to get.
I want to make sure I leave with a virgin booty hole and never suck the penis. I was like, yo, bro.
Yo.
And while he's rubbing his leg.
You know what was funny to me was Shannon Sharp's body language during it because he's so damn big but he was so uncomfortable. He was just trying he didn't even know what to do with his big old body.
I think he was trying to be neutral. But he was like still like, yo, this is funny. How can you not laugh?
Like a little girl, but it's also hilarious. Like, oh, this guy's crossing the line. There's a lot of people who are gonna hate us after this interview.
Yeah. But it was good. I liked it. It was raw.
Yeah.
But let's parlay this into the John Jones Tom Aspinall tweets. Jake, we're gonna need you to put this on the screen for people to see in case they did not see it. But pretty much. Aspinall was kind of getting at John, saying like, "Yo, here he did like a conversation tweet, like me, Jones, community kind of thing, and me again.
Yeah.
It's like in order for you to build your resume, you got to fight great people, and then here I am. Well, I'm trying to fight the greats. Steve, I'm trying to fight you.
Yeah,
I am the interim champ.
Yeah.
He can't get a fight with either one of them.
Yeah.
So what's he supposed to do? He's like, he's showing homage to respect to John, and I think that's cool. But I think in the same breath. Aspinall has a point. Like, they're both right. Neither one of them were wrong. Like, John might retire after this next fight. So, I don't know. That's how I feel, at least.
Yeah, I think they're both right. You know, Aspinall did a great job in his last fight. He won the interim belt. And when you win the interim belt, you feel like you're supposed to be fighting for the unification in the next fight.
Well, those are the rules.
And to have John Jones as the title, as the guy who has that belt, like you're thinking you're fighting him next, and that's like the biggest fight of your life. So he's so excited about it. But the problem is,
name.
It's not. Yeah, it's going to do the most for his resume. It's a huge opportunity for him. But the thing is, it's probably not going to happen. I don't think it's ever going to happen. I feel bad for him too, but he'll be fine. He's going to have to find his own way. He's going to have to fight Cyril Gane. Okay, he's going to have to defend his interim belt, which is the only person I've never known. Only person I've known that's defending his interim belt. Do you know who that is?
Wait. Whoever defended the interim belt.
Who's defending? Henan Barrow defended his belt twice.
Who beat Henan Barrow?
Yeah, he did. Henan Barrow. Shout out to him. At one point, he was Dana was saying he was the greatest of all time, and then all of a sudden he sucked.
Then TJ beat him.
I'm not saying he actually sucked. I'm saying the people's perception was all of a sudden he sucks because he started losing, and people forgot what he accomplished.
But he lost to Dillaroids twice. I mean, and then he lost to me right after. Yeah. And then after that, it was kind of like, all right, you kind of lose a little. Yeah,
he lost some steam for sure. When you're in the top of the world, I don't know if he was undefeated or not, but he was.
I think he had one loss. He went on like a 25 or 30 fight
He didn't lose in the UFC. He was undefeated in the UFC at least. He might have been one of those guys who lost like his first.
I think it was the first or second fight.
Just like Anderson Silva lost his first fight ever, and then became one of the greatest. Which is crazy how you could parlay wins together after losing your first like that when you're making no money at all. Like,
you're like, maybe I shouldn't be doing this.
Am I going to be good at this? Like my coaches said I was good, but I just lost my first fight ever. So props to them. But
I wonder if they're still hiring at UPS.
But unfortunately,
UPS is a good job. No disrespect.
Unfortunately for Aspinall. He's going to have to kind of like go backwards in his mind a little bit because I'm sure in his head he's got John Jones, he's got Steve Miocic, these monster names. You got the GOAT of the heavyweight division in most people's eyes, and
the GOAT of MMA, probably.
And then you got the GOAT of MMA and John Jones. These are two big money maker fights for him and huge for his legacy. And guess what?
He ain't getting neither one of them.
He just was able to look at it. So this interim belt, John Jones he has a good point, man. What does it mean? Does he get percentage of pay-per-view is my question as the interim champion.
Yeah, you do.
Which he does. So hopefully he gets put on a good card. It's not going to be the biggest fight ever when I think fights Cyril Gane, or he might fight the guy Almeida, the big.
Oh, the heavyweight guy.
Yeah, I would say Cyril Gane's the bigger name. Tough fight. Both super athletic on paper. I think those guys might be the most technical heavyweight fighters we've seen in a long time. On the feet.
I was saying
Cyril Gane, we've seen some issues there on the ground. John Jones made that clear. But
isn't that crazy? Because Cyril Gane hit a heel hook in the UFC, dropped back for it, and got it. And then John just kind of just made him look like he doesn't even know how to defend a guillotine choke,
So
which is crazy.
In my head, so we've seen John Jones. I was talking to DC with this earlier, actually, on his show. DC said himself he's been in that same position with John Jones, and it's tight, but like
Fight the hands.
He's felt it before. You know, it's like a tight front headlock. It's a little choke. Fight those hands, and you get back to your feet. It sucks for a second, but you fucking fight through it. He goes, man, Cyril Gane, like. He felt that, and I think it was the moment. He's fighting John Jones. All of a sudden, he's on his ass. All of a sudden, he's in this tight-ass choke. And he's like a panic. Like, this moment's too big. Because now to get back to my feet and create distance and get to where he's comfortable, that's a lot of work. And what if it doesn't work? Maybe he's not as good as he thought he was.
Oh, I love that, man.
You know what I mean? But that's, I think, a lot of things that was probably going through Cyril Gane's head at that moment. It was tap. But
you don't get chills talking about that, thinking about that.
I do get chills.
I'm putting myself in Cyril Gane's like position. Like it's a bad position. It don't look good for me right now, and I'm able to get out, or I'm feeling the pressure. Like you just feel like you should just cave in, but there's got to be another side of you that flips that switch. Like, nah, bro, we didn't come here just to come here. We came here to like.
These are the mental battles that we go through in the octagon, man. You could do everything right in training camp. I'm getting chills right now.
Yeah, I feel that.
But all of a sudden, you're in those positions, and it's really
the crowd.
A position that if you're not in for the first time, it could be very overwhelming, you know. And I think that's what got him. But now he had the experience of that. He came back in his last fight. He got a finish, I think, in the second round. Spivak, I think he finished.
Yeah, that wasn't.
He looked great, you know. Was it a favorable matchup? Probably, but
no, because Spivak got him down. The fight's over. But because of the athletic ability on the feet. That was the favorite. I don't say favoritism, but that was his advantage.
Yeah. What does Aspinall and Cyril Gane look like in your mind?
I think Aspinall's better on the ground.
Yeah.
I think the better kickboxers is Gane, but I think the better boxer is Aspinall, not by like a landslide, but I think when he does throw his punches, he looks a little bit more crisp.
He's clean. He's throwing combinations.
Like a boxer. He looks like
Cyril Gane's almost like a Wonder Boy.
He just touches
one shot out, one shot out. He's not in the pocket throwing like 3 punches. You know that would be his weakness, I think, inside the pocket.
I always say dark-skinned people fight pretty. The Black Beast,
Rosenstrike. I mean, there's some exceptions.
Yeah, but there's some people who don't. We're not really trying to get in there and like trade them up. We're just trying to either take you out, want to hit a quitter, or we're staying on the outside. I ain't trying to get in the mix.
You trying to say you're smarter than the white people? Or
no,
just
I'm just
more
saying
athletic?
we just don't like to do that. We're like damage, nah. You see like Darren Elkins, you're like that guy is crazy. You see some of these other guys who are in there like their faces falling off. I'm like, bro, I ain't fighting like that.
There's no black dude with damage on his chest.
No,
and just in there to get his face
doesn't
ripped
exist.
off.
You ever see DC fight like that? You don't see John Jones fight like that. The only time he had to.
No, well, DC did bring it, and he got in the pocket. He wasn't afraid to get punched. But he
wasn't going to sit there. And
he wasn't.
I'm willing to take one to get a He's like doing the zombie, and then he grabs you. He's going to throw something hard.
Yeah.
I'm saying like I'm going to sit in the pocket, and me and you're going to figure out trading punches, slipping and ripping. There's not a lot of us that's sitting there doing that in MMA. I don't see it.
Honestly, and I'm not even going to make it to a race thing, but there's athleticism and then there's athleticism. And if you don't have the same athleticism as the guy you're going against, you kind of have to make it
fight
dirty.
like a dog.
You have to dog it up, and you got to bring him into the dog pen. You
know, I've always heard this in college wrestling. He's chocolate. He's going to melt. You know
who told me about that? Tion Ware. Remember him? He was at least a multiple-time national champion from University of Oklahoma. He always found a way to win, and I trained with him at the Olympic Training Center once.
I met him one time. Yeah, I did meet him.
Super talented dude, very good wrestler, but he would win like close matches.
Yeah,
like 3-2. He always found a way to win. And he said to me, he goes, "Yo, you think my headgear unbuckled every single time in that third period on accident?" He goes, "Motherfucker, chocolate melts." I'm like, "What?" I was like, "I've never heard that before."
Bro, I heard someone say that in the middle of my match for the first time in college, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, what does that mean?" I think I know what it means, but I can't believe you just said that.
But let me tell you
Out
something.
Loud.
That's BS too. That's not real. Like, you don't melt. You got great cardio. Neil Magny, great cardio. There's tons of them. Anderson Silva, great cardio.
If I'm being honest,
Adesanya.
I feel there's more of us that do get tired.
It comes to explosivity.
Yes.
It's lactic acid. It's science. If you're super explosive, you're going to fade. You're going to fade. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you get guys who are very explosive. There's a toll that comes with that. You can't be that explosive and also have the cardio of a guy who's not explosive. So there's benefits, there's pros and cons.
Yeah, and I would always have to try to manage my gas tank because I knew where I could explode and when I had to like take my time because I'm like, yeah, dude, I ain't trying to be chocolate melts right now because the last thing I need to do in a fight is when you feel the pressure. And I've had that happen moments where I'm like, just keep moving your feet. I'm talking to myself where I'm getting like the Pedro Munoz fight in that third round. This is when I first started really struggling to make 35. Like the Jimmy Rivera fight, I struggled a bit, but it wasn't as hard as the Pedro fight for whatever reason. It's like my body just hit like a wall and just changed after that weight cut with Jimmy. And then after that, the output was crazy. We set the record for like a 3-round fight. Mind you, I trained for that, so I expected all that. But then when I'm in there halfway through the second round, I'm like, yo, if I don't just keep swinging and if I don't keep moving, I'm going to get caught with something and I'm going to get put down because I'm tired. It's not even like the guy is better than me. I'm getting exhausted from beating him up, 1. And then 2, because I'm just getting tired. Like the weight cut's getting hard. So I don't fully agree that chocolate melts, but I feel like there's a lot more of that
because
we see.
There's probably more black people with more explosive muscle tissue.
And
like,
more,
that's why black dudes jump higher. Like type 2 muscle fiber tissue. I think I'm not a scientist.
On an average basis. I know some white
average.
dudes that make me my hops don't.
Look at Christian McCaffrey. Like there's some freaks. There's some white dudes who are super explosive, and guess what? They get tired. Look at
It's just a different
look at,
the way your body's.
Yeah, it's just like there's tons of white dudes who are super explosive. More explosive than black dudes. It's
I just think
ratio wise,
growing from Uniondale, you're coming from Baldwin. We're like neighbors.
Yeah,
we predominantly see black folks, right? So then we see what we see, and that's what we judge our perspective on. Then when we get out into the real world and we see all these different other places I go wrestle, I'm like, well, I kind of see that with this too. Like he's tired, he's exhausted, and then you kind of open your mind
because you don't want to stereotype off of just our 2 towns or like the black people we were around, because there's a whole world of black, white, Spanish, and everyone has all different types of bodies. So it's like it's hard. I was just saying, like as you travel, you get more open minded. It's like you can't put people into a box as much as you'd like to.
Am I a bad guy for this?
No,
I'll go for a wrestling match, and when I was coaching in high school. And I might get, I hope I don't get canceled for this, but when I'm coaching and I see like my guy who's like not very muscular, put together, and I see a brother or a Spanish dude, whoever it is, and they're jacked.
Or a white guy?
Or
a white guy in there?
And I see that they're jacked. It's usually black though.
That's right.
It'd be some jack kid. I'm just looking at my guy. I'm just like, yo, he's going to get tired. He's going to get tired. I'm telling you right now, the first round, you got to weather the storm. He's going to come hard.
They're super explosive.
He's going to shoot. He's going to try to blast you to your back and try to finish the match.
You got to break him.
You got to hold on to his wrist, slow him down, make him work hard.
Frustrate him.
Find the line, go out of bounds. I'm telling you, if you get out of the first period, it's a match.
Yeah.
And more than likely, more than a lot of times, if they didn't get pinned, I was correct. Because it was just like, again, I'm looking at the genetics. I'm looking at I'm like, I guarantee you this kid is probably just think he's really good, really strong, and probably doesn't run and do all these other things to get in shape. So I'm just saying, I'm trying to justify it now. Like, but this is where I'm looking. I think this kid might get tired. I'll
tell my son the same thing. He's going against a super explosive dude, whether he's white, black, Spanish, whatever. You could tell right away. Athletic, moves well, fast, explosive, super strong. First period, don't get pinned. Stay strong, and then show toughness in that second and third period, and you'll be surprised how many people will break
him in the third.
100%. Because if you feel like the guy has an advantage in the first, all right, let's get to the second and third, because now you have more room to win, more opportunities.
And I can always tell based on the guy's warm up when he's on the side and he's bouncing and he's looking.
So you might get me fucking. I'm gonna get canceled. Yeah. Like you're killing me right now.
When you get a guy bouncing around, he's looking. And I'm just like, nah, son, this kid looks crazy right now. This kid looks crazy. I got to make sure I'm ready for everything.
You doing that? There was a dude from Uniondale back in the day, Antonio Baguise.
I heard about him. He's the one that killed.
He killed somebody.
They partied in his house. Yeah. He killed the guy and partied in his house.
It was a guy. Yep, it was his friend. Killed the dude in his house. Blood on the walls. He painted the walls, hid the body in the backyard. All of a sudden, the body started stinking. And he was at that kid's house.
Sick.
His parents, he told all the friends, "Oh yeah, he's on vacation in Florida. He's with his parents or something in Florida." Meanwhile, he killed the kid, and his body's in his backyard,
decomposing.
And it's decomposing. It's starting to smell. He threw it in the East River, but the cops came to the door, and they knocked on the door. Antonio Pagis is there, like, "Hey, have you seen Jeffrey Epstein?" That's just like a normal thing. Yeah. And he's like, "Yeah, he's with his parents in Florida." They're like, "No, he's not." And they're like, "Do you mind if we come in for a second?" He goes, "Yeah, no problem." As they walk in, they see paint cans on the side. They see the wall like half covered, like you could see like paint trying to cover up blood.
Bro,
Like, yo, I think we got to take you into custody. But anyway, this dude was on my state team. He was from Uniondale, so he's from your town. He was crazy. But I remember him warming up. And it was like that. I'm like, this dude. And he's doing like, I'm going to dominate everybody. Like, doing weird mannerisms on the mat. And he ended up becoming a killer. He was a good wrestler, though.
I heard he was a
Crazy.
really damn good athlete and a really good wrestler.
Yeah.
It's sad. It's
I
sad.
put it on him in practice, though. Sorry, Poogies.
Yeah. Did you
He
really?
probably doesn't have a mic to talk back, but I put it on him in
Yeah.
practice.
I think he's still in jail.
He probably should be.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But what you were saying, come back to full circle. I don't think any one of these guys are wrong. This is my problem for Aspinall. John Jones is saying he should do this, and I agree. You got to carve out your own way with you. I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah.
And I believe he needs to do that. But then if the two greatest guys at their age are deciding to retire after they do fight.
John Jones is not saying that, though. Just
I
saying
heard he said that in an interview.
No, he just said, I just seen on a recent tweet, I am not saying this is going to be my last fight, but this is what I'm deciding on doing now.
But this is what he was saying. He was like, I might potentially retire. He kind of said, like, paraphrasing, I might potentially retire. You. What are you talking about right now? Like, I'm going to get the fight that I want.
Yeah.
And I feel bad for Aspinall because I'm like, what's the man supposed to do? Like, who else is he going to build a crazy resume against? He's going to have to go on a crazy run.
Yeah.
John Jones beat legends.
Yeah.
He beat all, at 23, he beat all, they might have been older guys. They were calling them dinosaurs, but they were still killers.
They were winning at that time.
Vitor,
Shogun,
Chael Sonnen. The list goes
Machida.
on. Rampage,
Machida.
Jackson, Rampage, not Rampage, Rashad Evans.
Rashad Evans.
And he killed everybody. Stephen Bonner, RIP. Like, he fought a lot of good guys, a lot of legends, a lot of big names, where I feel Aspinall's not going to have that opportunity to build his resume and against meaningful fights unless people like later on they're going to find
I will say this, man. This is what the UFC does, and this is the heavyweight division. They're going to build these guys up to where they're stars.
They need to.
Aspinall is going to be a star. They're creating, even like John Jones said, also, it must be nice to become the king of England after 4 fights that, with recognizable names. Well, he's a big name already because he won the interim belt. It was an MSG. When John Jones and Stipe are gone, and Aspinall's there, and he's looking to defend his belt against these guys like a Spivak or Cyril Gane or the guy Almeida, they're going to make those guys big names.
I hope.
They're going to feel like huge fights. They're going to have to. But he's going to, because he doesn't have a legend that bounces to like get him going early on, he's going to have to do more work than somebody that, had those opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, you look at John Jones. I think his second fight in the UFC was Stephen Bonner. How crazy is that?
That was, yeah. Well,
Now,
this is the other thing. Was back in the day, they would put the best guys against each other. He also fought Ryan Bader. Ryan Bader has
Was
been a
also
multiple-time
undefeated
Bellator.
prospect.
Yeah, 2 undefeated prospects. They don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
There's tons. We could go. I could go through so many different names of guys who fought before they had the belt, became great champions, but the people that they fought up until that point, they were the best guys at that time. You might look back now and look at the resume and be like, that guy must have been not. He fought Shogun, he fought this guy. Those were the best guys at the time.
Yeah.
And that's what the guys would fight. There was no, hey, John Jones looks like a top prospect. Let's have him go against these guys who are gonna like, give him some experience before we get him into that title fight.
Yeah, like he jumped right into the Shark Tank.
Yeah, he's gonna struggle with strikers because he's a little green there. Let's just give him with subpar wrestlers. There was no thinking like that. It was the best fought the best. That's what UFC used to be. UFC has evolved now to creating fighters and names, and then parlaying that into huge money-making fights.
Yeah, good matchups. That was my thing that we were talking about earlier. Is like I don't want to feel like I'm discrediting the guys who are getting the passes or the easier paths. Like I'm happy for you. Just know that if you're gonna compare our resumes, just know it's just not the same.
Yeah, 100%,
like what we had to deal with in terms of just getting to this position. Like you had to avoid all the tough fights where it's just like, well, we're gonna give you someone who could beat you.
Yeah.
Like we're hoping to give you someone that we would like to beat you and cool your jets a little bit.
100%.
Well,
Yeah,
like
you
said,
went through that like crazy.
You don't see that no more.
No, that's not happening. And unfortunately, like for us, we're gonna have to be okay with that and be like, it's just the game has changed.
No, I'm comfortable in my own skin.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
ain't nobody can tell me nothing. I'm like, but your resume don't hold a candle to mine. Like, I don't care how many defenses. I mean, I do care how many defenses you get, but not even just O'Malley, just in terms of anybody. Like, The defenses matter.
With
but I think
O'Malley, that's like, okay, so he's fighting a guy that really probably didn't deserve the title fight, right? Like Merab deserved
number 2. Yeah,
you deserve the rematch. 1, they're not giving that to you, which is
Crazy.
upsetting. 2, Merab, number 1 contender, they're not giving him the shot because
Crazy.
that's a terrible matchup. That's something that was never happening back in the day.
Yeah.
If it's a terrible matchup, boom, make that fight happen. People are going to want to see it.
Yeah.
See O'Malley get crushed by this freaking dude from Georgia who's a savage machine. Let's see that fight. But now it's like, hey, Cheeto Vera and him, they're both kind of big names. They have a little bit of history. Let's create that up. Cheeto had just lost. Was it 2 fights ago? He just lost.
Yeah,
who did he just
two
lose
fights
to?
ago. He lost to Sandhagen. Then he fought on the Boston card.
Lost to
and he beat
Sandhagen,
Pedro
and I
Munoz.
like Cheeto, but he lost to Sandhagen pretty dominantly, right?
Very dominantly. And the Pedro fight, I think, was a split decision.
And Sandhagen, who did he lose?
No, he beat Rob Font.
So he's just kind of. They
He
just
beat
kinda,
Cheeto, then Rafa.
They're kind
He
of painting him out of the picture a little bit,
Well,
right?
he tore his
he tore his tricep.
They were giving him Umar.
They were kind of killing him with Umar.
So I'm just like, well, how do you give him Umar, and then you give Cheeto like it just doesn't make sense sometimes. But then, like you said, it's like depends who you are. We have shareholders now.
You got to just keep winning. My
That's-
advice to all the guys out there:
Just win.
things are not
Take care
going to
of
go your
yourself.
way. You're going to feel like the whole world's against you. You're going to feel like the UFC's against you. Just know it's a business, and just keep your nose down, keep grinding, and you got to keep winning.
That is the
Good
best
things
advice.
will happen if you just keep winning. Don't let this shit get in your head, because it's hard for it not to, but that's the only way to get through it. Is just focus on yourself and continue to work hard and just win.
Make sure you tell him one more time. Tell him.
Make sure to freaking win.
Make sure
That's
you-
it. Just win.
There's no better advice than making sure you take care of yourself. And I 100% agree with you. If you start getting crazy wrapped up in the other stuff, it drives you nuts and you get really butthurt about it, which you don't want that, because then you're fighting with like visceral, and you don't want to do that. You want to be
undeniable.
Yeah. That's
Make
it.
yourself, if you're like, damn, this dude's getting that, all right, make it so they're talking about you. Nowadays you could do it by talking, right?
Yeah.
But I'm talking more about winning, because at the end of the day, you need to win.
You still got it. Yeah. That produces
Yeah.
everything. Yeah, it's a crazy game. It's changed a lot.
Yeah.
They put in I guess I don't really want to talk about this. Ian Gary calls out Colby Covington. That's kind of like I'm not into the drama like that. We just talked about Cat Williams for mad long. Like this to me is just if they make that fight, I think it's a fun fight. I think it's a fun fight.
I give Ian Gary credit for that, because he's gonna have to deal with a lot of shit during those press conferences
Yeah.
in the lead up for that fight.
You don't think he's gonna go super low?
Covington looked terrible in that last fight.
Bro, that looked like rust and age.
What did he even bring to the table?
What
Happened to when he fought Usman? I was kind of confused. Obviously, it was a good fight, but he was known, and the rumblings in the MMA inner circle was that this dude's cardio is insane and his wrestling is insane, and he doesn't stop. Like almost like Merab.
Yeah.
He's going to keep shooting. Even if you stop a couple, he's going to keep shooting because he believes his cardio is better than yours, and he's eventually going to get on top and have his way with you. Kind of like what he did with the Masvidal when he fought Masvidal. When he fought Usman, even if Usman's a great wrestler, if he really believed in his cardio, why not just shoot? He wasn't shooting at all. There was no real takedown attempts. It was like you're just standing up the whole time.
I think he didn't want to get tired from carrying Usman's weight with too many failed attempts.
Well, then his cardio. So then he isn't that cardio king like he wants everybody to believe.
But as a wrestler, I think I think you would agree with this. I think when you're shooting and someone keeps stopping your shots and they keep you there and they're beating you up in that front headlock position, that's a little more taxing than shooting and them defending and getting back up. I think it's a little bit more pressure because now you're carrying the weight, you're getting punched, you're eating clock, you're losing. Now you're getting a little bit more desperate. I think it's a little bit, even you saw in the first fight when he shot in and hung onto the single leg. He got rocked, but he hung onto the single leg. He was trying to defend himself and keep his head underneath. But it was just one of those positions. You're exhausted. You're trying to gather yourself, but you're getting beaten up in that position. The ref stops the fight.
His mentality, the way for him to win is to do that, though.
But with other guys who can't really wrestle as well.
Yeah, but even with Usman, everyone could get taken down. Look, Usman, we've seen him get taken down too.
I agree with you. I think he should have tried that approach.
Yeah, because the stand-up approach,
they made it a striking fight, which was fun to watch.
And even Usman, he didn't really shoot against him either. Like
I think he was worried about getting tired too.
I know they both these cardio kings were a little bit nervous. They had a lot of respect for each other when it came to the cardio.
It's kind of like, well, I don't want to
because when Colby Covington was shooting on Jorge Masvidal, he wasn't concerned when he was stopping some takedowns because he knew in his head my cardio is better than his cardio. he's going to have to work to stop these shots. Eventually, he's going to give up before I give up.
Yeah.
When he was against Usman, it was the opposite. He was just he wasn't too sure if his cardio was going to hold up with those takedown attempts and be able to still be able to fight and win a fight against Usman if he is tired.
Yeah. Like I think about like if I fought a high level wrestler, a D1 guy, national champ, whatever.
Like a Henry Cejudo.
Like, but you know, he's a little smaller. But if I fought a guy who was like a more natural 45er or a more natural 35er, a little bit bigger, maybe a little taller, how would that look in terms of like my approach? But I feel like it would still be the same. I feel like I would still be looking to push forward and get takedowns. And then this way I could work my ground and pound, or if you turn to your knees, I take it back. I feel like that mentality, that game plan wouldn't change with anybody that I'm fighting. Because
you have to keep that wrestling mindset, I think. Like, you've been wrestling your whole life. You got to think, all right, in wrestling scrambles, your cardio is going to hold out better than the other guy's cardio.
I hope so.
Yeah. Well, that would be that should be the mindset, though, right? Like, you train hard enough, you did enough in the gym where you tried to kill yourself in sparring, going for takedown after takedown. Like, I've seen you do it. Like, you're trying to get yourself tired in sparring over and over again by putting yourself in those positions. And if you do it enough and you believe in your cardio and you put more work in than the other guy, then you got to keep shooting.
Yeah. I agree. It's a tough one. I do like this fight, though, if they do make it. I don't really want to talk about the drama with this because the whole Ian Gary thing, his wife, and then Strickland, and then the thing with Strickland and Duplessis, like that whole thing that was just super toxic. I was like, man, this.
Well, both Ian Gary, I like Strickland, to be honest, way more than I like Ian Gary, just based on what I've seen so far. I think Strickland is very self-aware and honest about everything that he says, and so I appreciate that. I appreciate that he's real. But when you start talking about other people, you have to expect it to come back at you. And now Sean Strickland is getting a lot of that, right? Yeah. And now they know what actually bothers him, this whole thing with his dad. So he kind of gave that. He opened himself up. He's trying to be honest with the world. He's trying to help people, people who've been abused by their, family members and stuff like that. It's a serious thing. So he's being honest about his situation really to help other people. And now all of a sudden it's getting used against him. And that's just lighting him on fire. It's hard for him to deal with that emotionally. But when you're talking about, he's talked about other guys' stuff, like some personal stuff, where I wouldn't personally cross the line. I wouldn't cross those lines because I don't want that happening to me. Because I just feel like that's not where the sport should go. If someone's talking about my wife, man, like...
I feel like it's different. It becomes different. It's not like just me, you're going to fight in a cage and that's it. It's like...
You do a great job of talking shit, but you don't really you don't try to hurt these dudes personally.
Nah, yeah, I feel like...
You really do a good job of selling fights, talking trash, but also doing it like in a fun, loving way.
I do it like high school, like we're in the cafeteria, bullshitting, talking shit.
You really do a good job of separating yourself emotionally from the words that are coming out of your mouth. Like, you could talk shit on somebody, but it's not like you mean like you're trying to hurt this dude. I think maybe because the way you grew up, like you guys would trash talk a lot, back and forth.
But we hurt each other.
And if you showed that something hurt you, guess what? Now it's like blood in the water.
Oh yeah,
you can never show that.
Yes. And
so you're used to being able to talk trash and being able to take it, and some other people aren't used to that, and can't separate it.
Yeah, because the stuff we said to each other growing up, if there was ever social media back then, could hear any of the stuff my parents would say to each other, my parents would say to us, my brothers and sisters, what we would say to each other, like toxic, man, just toxic. Dark, toxic. We talk about each other's mothers. We said some outlandish things where I'm like looking like, how are we even related? Like, how are we family talking to each other like this? This is just crazy. But yeah, I feel like that's why people say stuff. They think that it bothers me. Oh, he's living in your head rent free. I'm like, guys, you have no idea that this is like a walk in the park.
Yeah, I think you have a great balance with that. I can't take it. I don't think I'd be able to take it as good as you do, for sure. That's a gift to be able to handle that. That's why I don't really talk trash on my opponents too much, because I'm like, man, if they come at me, like, if you actually come get personal with me, like, I just want to fight you.
Yeah,
I don't want to make it like that. Like I said, we were talking about before about being a purist. I want to go out there and see who the best person in the world is. Like, every single time, I want to be the best version of myself, and let's see who the best guy is, and that's it. Like,
but if you get
win, lose, or draw.
That's make them fight bad.
Yeah, so I've never really got to that point. The only time I've ever, and I've talked trash now. I've talked trash in fights. I've done it to like amp up fights. You getting pay-per-view points. Like, you have to talk.
Yeah.
And I like busting balls. You know, I love having fun. I can make fun of people. I can take it pretty good. That's actually my fun. Like it's like my probably favorite thing to do. But when it's like in competition, it's just hard for me. It's hard for me to do that.
I always said I wish you get to show that a little bit more because I
Yeah.
think people would find it so funny how effortless it would be for you to just kind of rip somebody apart without even like trying. You're just having a good time doing it. But it's funny to me.
I need to do that. It's almost too late for that though.
Yeah, you never
Bruno
know.
Silva, just another Silva. I mean, what am I going to say about him? I
How many
don't know.
Silvers out there?
I got to
What's
watch
this one
some
gonna
tape
do?
on him first before I talk trash.
Yeah. Yeah, this is what they want me to talk about, them stacking 299. Speaking of 299, they just released some fights. We got Poirier versus Saint Denis. I think that's going to be a crazy fight.
Yep.
I think
That's at UFC 299.
299 in
Yeah.
Miami.
Yep.
I think that's crazy that they're putting so much emphasis on this card. I was like, damn, where was the love? When I was a champ, where was the love? I was trying to get one of these cards like
Yeah.
this, man. Damn.
Well, Sean O'Malley was the numbers on your card, I thought.
We did lower than Volkanovski and the other ones. I'm
Yeah.
just like, come on, man. I'm not saying it was terrible, but for us two, I thought it was pretty good. And I didn't carry the fight in the sense of I wasn't the A side, but I knew like in the sense of entertainment and who people were really tuning in to see. I would say Sean.
Yeah.
But I think it was like such a compelling matchup that they wanted to see like how it was going to go.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
But I don't think we didn't set any box office numbers that they were kind of hyping up. That was like, damn, man, I would have just chilled at home, took a little vacation, and then came back and fight later in the year or next year. But I do like the Saint Denis fight. You were saying earlier that Gaethje was like the first one to kind of take a step back out of the top 5.
Yeah. Because
And
you
now
got
we're
like
seeing that a lot more.
you
Finally,
you got Chandler, you got Oliveira, you got Poirier, and you got Gaethje.
always in the top 5.
These 4 dudes are the biggest names in the top 5, and then obviously Makachev, but excluding the champion, these 4 guys for the most part over the last 5 years have kind of been just fighting each other. So it's just the
Conor
big
was
names.
there, Khabib was there.
Yeah, and so I think people started getting to the point: like, are these guys still the best guys anymore? Or are they just the biggest names?
Yeah.
And so then Gaethje took that chance when he fought for Zeev.
Yeah, that first round
that's
was scary.
that's a killer right there for Zeev. So people are like, maybe Gaethje he can't handle these new up and comers, but he really, he held his ground and showed, man, listen, we're still that good. And now the UFC's and it's smart with these big cards coming up, UFC 300, UFC 299. How long are these big name fighters going to be there? You need to start using these guys' names to build up these new up and comers. And so you got this guy Saint Denis, which most people don't know. The biggest win he has is against our boy Favola.
Yeah.
I think.
He was the only guy that was ranked.
Thiago Moises, I think he beat
Yeah.
too. But like he hasn't fought really the biggest names, at all. And now all of a sudden he's fighting freaking Dustin Poirier.
That's a huge jump.
That's a big jump, experience and everything. And he's been a big advocate of saying that he wants to be fighting for the BMF titles. He thinks he's like the BMF. He wants to put on a show standing and all this. But let's talk about that fight a little bit as far as the technicalities of it. Man, Poirier is a freaking beast on the feet. We know Saint Denis has used his wrestling before, but he's kind of alluding to the fact that he wants to make fun fights.
Yeah.
Which would mean you're standing and banging with Poirier.
I
don't think his level of stand up is on the level of Poirier.
Respectfully. Because
Respectfully.
like when we
He
were
hasn't
watching
been there.
tape,
He hasn't been there.
yeah, when we were watching tape helping Favola for that, I sent him some stuff. And I'm like, yo, dude, I'm watching these fights back. Like, yeah, I forgot how good he was, but then when I go back and I watch and I start breaking down the technical deficiencies, I'm like, yo, there's some holes here that you could capitalize on. I don't know if Favola goes into like straight army mode and it was Veterans Day weekend, Veterans Day. So I think he kind of went into like just an even extra autopilot.
Yeah.
And, it's an easy mistake that anybody could have got caught on for separation. You drop your hands.
But that's what makes Favola great too, and that's why he had 3 knockout wins in a row.
He goes for it.
And especially against a Drew Dober, which was huge. A white dude with explosive power.
Yeah.
Another white dude who's going to get tired over the rounds because he's explosive.
But you remember that fight with Bobby Green? Bobby Green was being super clean, touching him up the whole time.
All it takes is one punch.
And then Dober had to just like absorb all that damage.
He
and then he landed the kill shot.
He did. But
He
that
got-
dude's always he's dangerous.
Yeah.
That dude hits hard.
the whole time. But then what I was saying about the Saint Denis is like I just think his boxing is not going to be as clean as Poirier. I'm saying there's time for him to improve. He's got time. But I think Poirier looked great against Gaethje until he didn't.
Mm-hmm.
The first head kick he was able to block with one hand. The second one came around and wrapped around his neck and put him down.
Yeah.
Put him out.
He actually hurt. He hurt
Gaethje.
He hurt Gaethje with a head kick too.
Was it a head kick?
Oh yeah, he hit. I'm not saying this the one that really wobbled him.
There was a punch,
but he hit. He had some nice high kicks in there on him. And Gaethje threw maybe 2, but it wasn't. It didn't look. That wouldn't be my biggest fear when you're fighting Gaethje. It would be leg kicks and it would be the right hand.
Yeah,
it wouldn't be the right head kick.
He said he never practiced that, and the first time he just threw it.
And that was crazy. That was like, was that the same place Usman got knocked out? I think it was in Salt Lake City.
It was.
And that's his teammate.
What are the odds of that?
That's crazy. I think it was a knockout head kick, almost the same identical head kick. It was the right hand to the
same side head kick. Like but
Leon Edwards was southpaw,
but it was the same side.
Yes.
It's the cross into the
crazy,
and then he did the same exact thing. It was like wow. Yeah. So I just think Saint Denis is going to need to tap into that grappling. It's going to be hard for him, I think, striking wise. Like he's got great left kicks, but he's fighting another southpaw. So that left kick is not going to be as openly available the way it was against the opposite stance, which is open when he's going to the body. Yeah. He was just spamming kicks at a point. I forgot which fight. Oh, the Bonfim brother spammed the kicks to the body, and then eventually he put the finishing touches on him. I was like, yo, this guy is dangerous. He don't care.
Yeah,
he's coming in
he's
for
a savage. No, he's a savage.
But I just think if he tries to stand up and strike with Dustin the whole time, and he's got to be smart, touch him and move. But if he's looking for a BMF title, he's going to have to come in there and just swing them things. And I think that's going to open him up against a guy like Poirier.
Poirier is very experienced in those type of fights, too.
But where's he at mentally? He's older.
He looked great in that last fight, man, until that head kick. But I'm with you. It's always a question mark, right? You're getting older. You just got knocked out.
Up and comer.
Now you got this random up and comer. Is it exciting to fight this dude Saint Denis from France?
Younger than you, probably more durable at this point in his career. You're coming off of a knockout. Like you got all these mental challenges.
Poirier is still the cleanest boxer, I think, in that division. Like he's very clean on the feet. He's got great defense.
The Poirier shell right
he's
here.
He's got great defense, man.
When he pulls his pants up, though, you know when he pulls his shorts up.
But we've seen him struggle with kind of Wilton when it comes to the wrestling department. You know, we've seen that a little bit, right? Obviously we've seen with Khabib. Yeah, I know. So I'm going to say Saint Denis is going to be going for takedowns.
I think
it would be smart if he wants to win.
Yeah, I don't think he can not strike with him. I think he's got good head kicks that can put Poirier on his back foot a little bit. But I think with the same stance, that's going to make things very problematic, where it's not going to be as familiar as it was with his other opponents in that opposite stance. Like, he literally grabbed Favola's head. Favola got his head out of there when they broke out the clinch. He just reached up and just threw that head kick up there, and just luckily for him,
Favola thought he was out of the way. He thought he had distance.
He thought he was gone. But he's a long-limbed guy. It's a fun fight. I think it's going to be someone's getting, I think, put down. I just can't see that going 3 rounds.
I agree.
And then you got Sharyukian versus, I don't know, that's Arman. I'm just going to say Arman. Arman versus Charles Oliveira.
Yeah, man. If you go back and watch, and we talked about this the other day, if you go back and watch Arman versus Makhachev, Arman, this is 5 years ago. Arman was 22 years old, very raw fighter, green, I should say, and taking it off short notice against Makhachev. Makhachev looked great in that fight. That fight was crazy. The wrestling scrambles, the confidence that Arman had at 22 years old to wrestle with Makhachev like that was impressive. And short notice. So first round was crazy pace. Second round was crazy pace. Third round, he's exhausted. Makhachev is exhausted, but they're not though. They're still super dangerous and very good. That was a very clean fight. And I'm going to say, my point of bringing it up is that dude, Arman, was 22 years old. Now he's 27. At that time when they fought, Makhachev was 27. Now he's 32. In my eyes, in that fight, if you watch it, you could tell Arman was definitely way greener, but super athletic and a ridiculous prospect. You can see this guy being a champ in the making. They fight again. You got a way more, I think, the guy who's improved the most. Even though, listen, we just seen Makhachev go against Volkanovski the second time and have huge improvements. So he's improved too, but I think the bigger improvements are from a 22-year-old to a 27-year-old with experience inside that cage now, knowing what it feels like to be in there with Makhachev. He's hungry as hell to get back in there as he's seen Makhachev become a star and him kind of waiting in the wings. Nobody even really knows who he is.
Yeah.
Now this is his first moment to really shine. It's against Charles Oliveira, which is probably one of the most dangerous fights he could have.
I don't know how the fight's gonna go.
He's going to try to wrestle. He's going to try to Makhachev his ass.
I feel like he's gonna try to keep it standing. Arman.
I think Oliveira is so dangerous standing too, though. You
But
got some of those guys saying Oliveira is the hardest hitter they ever gone against. I think Gaethje might have
Gaethje said that was the hardest guy yet.
I mean, I think I talked to him today on the podcast. We spoke to him on the DC YouTube.
Spoke to who?
Arman.
Oh, Arman.
He thinks like he's looking at jiu-jitsu like, I got wrestling. I know jiu-jitsu. He's not tapping me out with any of that crap. He's one of those dudes like a sambo dude.
Yeah.
Like, fuck jiu-jitsu.
Sambo,
like,
jiu-jitsu doesn't work sambo.
Yeah, he's kind of like that with his mindset, which is a good mindset to have. Because if you're wrestling a guy, you don't want to be like so nervous of his guillotines and shit like that. You kind of want to go into it. Like, if you're on a double leg and you start feeling a guillotine happening, the way to get choked out is by second guessing yourself and then now trying to get out instead of like finishing it right, passing the legs as you're taking them down with the double. You know what I mean? Like really believing in your wrestling. And so if he goes in there really believing in it, it is hard to get submitted in the first 5-10 minutes of a fight.
Yeah, but the diversity of attacks that Oliveira has is the question mark for me. And then Islam did crack Oliveira on the feet, which is what led to the takedown, and then I think it was a takedown or a knockdown, and then he went to the head and arm choke.
Yeah. He looked great in that fight. But Oliveira was saying that that wasn't him in that fight. We could give him the benefit of the doubt.
I kind of agree. I think if you just watch all his fights and then watch the way he fought in that one, you could kind of see like that was not the best version.
Yeah, I would be excited to see that second fight.
But then Islam is saying he doesn't really want to do rematches. So then I kind of feel bad.
Makhachev?
Yeah.
You said Makhachev? Okay.
Islam, yeah. Because he's like, I don't want to keep fighting the same challenges. I want to make like new experiences. Because I think he's trying to do the Khabib thing and have a couple more, and he's trying to say like, I'm out. Both of us, two brothers that train with each other, came up. Now we're both champions, retired, not undefeated, but for him, but on top, which is a great storyline. But then he's like, he's gonna fight this one. Who's he fighting again?
Makachev? It's not set.
No,
he's gonna be fighting Gaethje. Yeah. I don't know. Is it set?
I mean,
maybe
they kind of one of those rumors and the leaks because if Gaethje's
I think they were talking about in June.
Yeah,
and so the winner of Arman and Oliveira would probably fight in like November or something.
Why does he always get those long of a break as a champ?
Oh, Makhachev?
Yeah, why do they get that long of a break? I know they got Ramadan in like I think April. Like I get that, but it's like, what if I want to just say, well, I need this,
Life isn't fair, man.
But this is what we were talking about earlier. You just gotta do with the cards that you have. It's not the same paintbrush for everybody.
No, I know. And you can't overthink because you'll drive yourself crazy.
Yeah,
it's not worth it.
Yeah, but
I should have retired undefeated. I should have pulled a Khabib.
He's like, I'm out.
I should. Yeah, I'd be like, hey, undefeated world champion, gone. Boom.
Yeah,
I would have done the same thing Khabib did.
That would have been actually pretty badass.
Right now, I'm just like a washed-up fighter still fighting. Like, why are you fighting? You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy, though. But that brings us to our point that we were saying before with Khabib being the greatest of all time. Picking when you decide to retire, like, is kind of important with how people look at you as far as your legacy.
Yeah.
Whatever you accomplish, I mean, listen, they can't take away what you accomplish. But if you show any chinks in your armor, if you start losing, now they have people are going to be like, he wasn't as good as we thought. Oh, he sucked or whatever. They have excuses.
That's such a weird, like our sport is.
I don't like
that.
I don't like that. That's BS.
Yeah, I think it's not fair.
It draws you into being like, all right, pick safe fights for yourself, and then just get out.
But then you have the people who are like us, who are like, well, he never fought nobody. Like you hear that about boxers all the time. Ryan Garcia when he's fighting Gervonta Davis, and he's like, you never fought nobody, and then he goes and fights him.
And then you're a hater.
It's not as good as we thought that Garcia was going to be.
Yeah. You know what you got to do?
It's crazy sport.
In my eyes, man. Like you got to do what you love to do. You have the ability to fight the best guys in the world. You're doing something that 99% of the population would cut their arm off to be able to do, accomplish things like we're accomplishing. If you have the opportunity and you could still do it, I mean, at some point you're going to be retired and you'll be looking back and you're going to have regret if you didn't just leave it all out there. Like Khabib, a part of me, if I was him, would be like, what could I have done? Could I have got some more? I mean, like it's always going to be in the back of your mind. Yeah, okay, you only had 3 title defenses.
And did you fight the best guys?
Did you fight the best guys?
But I think he's comfortable with like telling himself that I fought the best that there is at the time. But I don't know. I feel like I don't know. Whatever. Because then if we say this, then we become. I had one guy on Twitter like coming at me saying like I was like against Dagestan people. I'm like, what are you talking about? I hang out with people from Dagestan. I love some of those guys. They're like really cool people. But the fans, the fans that don't train or don't, those guys are just crazy,
they're crazy
on social media.
Well, because they have whoever they're rooting for has to be the best, and you can't question that
At all.
If you question it, you're against them,
And you're a hater. I was like,
so,
I don't think that's how the word.
But that's
hater
not realistic.
works.
You're allowed to have. Our country is all about free speech, and you're allowed to have an opinion.
Yeah, and we're allowed to critique.
And that doesn't mean you hate someone because you have a different opinion than them.
We don't have a main event for UFC 300. I'm actually on that card, but I still think it's going to be possibly Conor going to surprise us and just be like, hey, I'm fighting this weekend.
I think
not that close to the fight, but I think like in a week or two, he's going to announce it.
That's kind of how I feel. Like, he did that video. He's just showing he has Chandler by the balls.
Like,
and I'd probably be I'd be the same way as Chandler. Like,
wait,
listen, that's the payday. He'll wait forever. He'll be like 75 years old waiting for this fight with Conor McGregor. He won't fight anybody else.
Yeah,
he's not letting this one go.
But
he's got everybody in his ear. Who?
Do you see Chandler crushing the workout and then Conor?
Oh yeah, I see that. Yeah, that's awesome.
What a troll, man! I thought that was so funny.
Him coming out and saying it's going to be at 185 pounds. It's going to be in June. And then Chandler's like, okay, I'm ready for June. He's just showing he has such dominance over Chandler. And then tomorrow he'd be like, oh, guess what? I'm fighting UFC 300 main event. And Chandler's like, wait, I thought we were fighting in June. Yeah. Like, shut the fuck up. You're going to do what I tell you to do.
You do what you're told.
Yeah, I think he's just saying whatever he wants to say. And he's just messing with people. And I wouldn't be surprised because we don't have a main event for UFC 300 yet, I wouldn't be surprised if he's gearing up to be ready for that.
I think that's going to be it. I mean, the June card 301, or 302 actually. I mean,
that's going to be like the International Fight Week card, June 28th.
Yeah, but then it's just like, you mean July?
No, it's going to be June 28th.
For International Fight Week?
Yeah.
They're moving it up?
Yeah, it's like earlier.
July is too hot?
Well, I think it just depends on when that Saturday falls.
Yeah.
So that is the 20. Yeah.
But we got this fight, the rematch, Ankalaev versus Johnny Walker. I mean, there's a couple good fights on this. Manel Kape, he's fighting Nicolau. That's gonna be a really good fight. I don't know if you ever watched him fight, but the guy is literally just the Matrix. Watching him sparring, the same way he does the antics in the cage, same way he's in the sparring. You throw a punch, you miss. He's looking off to the side.
Really?
He's like making face at you like.
So does he train? He trains at Extreme Couture.
He trains at Extreme Couture.
Oh, okay.
And he trains a lot with his head coach, who I forget his name, but he travels with him.
That's featherweight, right?
No, that's 25.
Oh, okay. That's okay.
Yeah, so he's on the come up. But the Ankalaev rematch with Walker, I felt like that fight was shaping up to be a really good one, and then it got really weird really quick when they asked him where he was at, and he said the desert, and the doctor stopped the fight.
Thought that was BS.
Then they tried to fight each other in the.
That doctor messed up another bout, I think, that night. I forget which one it was. You remember? There was another one.
Was it Tim Elliott and Makayev?
You might be right.
It was
an undercard fight, maybe.
Yeah, it was undercard.
I didn't see it, but I heard it was awful. It was the doctor, I think, is kind of who messed it up.
Yeah,
not the
I don't know if it was the Elliott fight. I think there was another one for sure though that was a little weird.
But I mean, Johnny Walker, Ankalaev, in my eyes, you got one of the most dangerous guys in Walker, who's kind of a wild card. He could just randomly throw up a flying knee out of nowhere. He's super athletic and talented, but he definitely has holes in his game. His striking is a little, it's not very polished.
Defensively, at least.
His punches are weird. If you watch him, hit pads, it doesn't look great, but it's effective. But it's not like the way your coach would want you to, strike. He's not doing anything by the book, but he's unorthodox. So he brings that to the table. I would say wrestling-wise, not the greatest. Cardio-wise, not the greatest. Jiu-jitsu-wise, I would assume is not the greatest as well. Ankalaev is just, in my eyes, a very smart fighter, calculated, sticks to the basics,
and he's a good grappler too.
Yeah, I think he's very well rounded.
How crazy that he got submitted by Paul Craig with 1 second left,
and he was dominating that fight.
And he was killing him the whole fight.
That is crazy.
But that goes back to that jiu-jitsu sambo conversation.
Yeah. I wonder if he was a believer.
Watch out.
I mean, it's one thing to say it, but it's another thing to believe it.
Yeah.
I think to believe it, that means you've had to go in there against some really top jiu-jitsu guys and have had no problem.
Squish them.
Otherwise, you're talking out of your ass.
Unless they go inverted in donkey guard.
And you know, and to break down what Armin was saying to us today, he goes, "Listen, jiu-jitsu. If I go with Charles Oliveira, just jiu-jitsu, okay, maybe it's tough. Maybe he can get me. I don't know. But with ground and pound, everything changes.
Yeah.
And he's right about that. And it seems like he's confident with that, which is huge.
I think he's 100% right. And that fight could go, I know we're jumping back, but that fight could go, if he gets a takedown, it could be him stopping all the submission attempts the same way Islam did, and him just chipping away, eating a clock. And now Oliveira gets tired, and he gets maybe a little mentally deflated. Yeah. And then he's like, all right. You know, Oliveira, when he's ready to be out, he's just like he's shown in the past, like, you know, when I'm done, I just feel like being done. I'm out of here.
Yeah, that was kind of always the hiccup on him that people would bring up, is that mentally they felt like he would kind of check out in some fights.
Yeah.
Whether it was a weight cut or heart, they would question his heart. And then he went on that run, and he said it was a lot because he had a kid and he had more to fight for, and he didn't really see that anymore. You've seen him in some deep, you know, tough
fight,
situations,
got dropped,
and
came back,
just pure toughness, you know. So
in the Gaethje fight too.
That's why that fight's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, but I think Ankalaev is a very smart fighter. That fight with him and Blachowicz was super weird, where it was just shin kicking him the whole time, calf kicking him, and then it was like that fight was super weird. It was a draw, right?
And that was for the interim belt?
The vacant.
So you know what's crazy about that is that nobody won that fight, and then Ankalaev we kind of just forgot about. He like disappeared. They kind of UFC kind of he wasn't a part of the title mix anymore. They
hated him.
They kind of hated him because I don't know what he said. Did he kind of go at the UFC a little bit in post fight or something?
I think he did. I don't know if it was the UFC or just in general the judges, but I think he definitely said some things that they probably didn't like. But I watched him train before. The guy's a freak. I'm like, I wonder like how he ever lost to anybody. I mean, Paul Craig, obviously that was a crazy last Hail Mary second buzzer beater. Yeah. And then the Blachowicz fight, I thought he was going to take him down. I don't know if the moment got to him, but I felt like he didn't do half the things that I just thought he was going to be able to do, get a takedown, control him. But Blachowicz is actually really good, so I don't want to discredit him. So, I don't know.
Well, the way I see this fight, I think you probably similar view is that Walker's dangerous. He could put anybody down. He's just that explosive and talented. But the odds are definitely in Ankalaev's favor. He's just more well-rounded. He's probably the better fighter and most likely will win. But anything could happen. Yeah.
Johnny's just a big dude training with Kavanaugh now. If he connects, the guy's a freak. He's a freak, too. He's a specimen himself.
Yeah, I stood next to him. We took a picture. I had to go put my shoes on. Yeah. He took a picture of me with my shoes off. I go, bro, my friend, I got to go get my shoes on when I take my picture.
Did he have shoes off?
He had shoes on.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, no, I wouldn't have done that. I'm come on, man, let's make this real. Like, I can't be with no shoes and you have shoes on. You're already 6'5".
Nah, he's a big dude.
He's big. And like, he's tall as hell. And he's I don't know how he makes the weight.
It's funny because I was saying to you, I was like, man, I feel like you should just go 205 again. And this time, like, lift put not I don't say put muscle on, but I feel like you were just as big as those guys. And then you told me, it was like, oh, I saw Johnny Walker, and I'm like, there's no way. And then I saw Johnny Walker again. I was like, I looked at you, I looked at him, I'm like, yeah, Chris, you got a point. Maybe you're right. Maybe
and Jamal, bro, that dude's like walking around like 260.
Right, he's huge.
I wouldn't be able to get up to that weight if my life depended on it.
Nah,
at least I would probably need 2 years of eating like crap and drinking like, crazy amount of alcohol.
He like, hey man, don't be talking about my weight.
Nah.
hey, I'm working it. I'm working. This is just my off season. Right now. I love it. But we're not gonna talk about all these fights though, man. This is way too much. I think we got some good ones on here though. Jim Miller is back taking on Gabriel Benitez, Ricky Simone, Mario Batista.
Wait, Jim Miller's on this one?
Yeah,
I thought he was gonna be on UFC 300.
Nah, he's on the main card. He's the third fight from the main event.
I thought that was like a big thing. He was gonna be on he wanted to be on UFC 300. Like he asked to be on UFC 300, and then Dana was gonna make it happen.
Oh well.
That's actually not confusing.
His ass is on this card right here.
I wonder if he's gonna. I think maybe he's guaranteed on UFC 300 anyway.
We'll see.
He's got a favorable matchup here.
Nah, I think so too. Phil Halls is on this one.
Oh, yeah.
Against Bruno Ferreira. I think that guy's tough, but he's kind of like off the Contender Series. Andre Arlovsky is fighting. Okay. So there's some good ones on here. Preston Parsons. Oh, I saw him at the PI. I was like, I seen you fight, but I don't really remember who you are. Respectfully, he's a welterweight.
There's a lot of dudes being out here now at the UFC PI. I'm like, you look familiar. I just don't get it. There's so many fighters out here, like up and comers, that they look a little familiar, but I don't really know their names.
Yeah, and there's two guys that I'm really looking forward to bantamweight fights. Marcus McGee, who fought my friend JP Bays, he's fighting Gaston. Oh, I saw this guy today. I took a picture with like his girlfriend's nephew, and Farid, one of the Bashar brothers. We were talking about them a little bit earlier.
Oh yeah,
they're both undefeated. But he's fighting Taylor Lapilus. So Taylor Lapilus, just a quick backstory on him. He was in the UFC. He lost one fight. Where is it? His debut. Where is it? Right here. So he was in the UFC. He went one. He won his first. He won his second. He lost his third. He won his fourth, and then they cut him. So he went 3-1, and they let him go.
How do you win those fights? Split decision, unanimous,
And one finish over Okasaki.
and then he lost and let him go.
Yeah, which is really weird.
What
Then-
weight is this?
35. But then they finally signed him back, and he just beat this kid by unanimous decision, Colin Laurent, whatever, over in Paris, when they went to Paris. So it's kind of crazy, but he's been winning the whole time. He only lost one fight after that. And it's interesting how this one, because he's got an undefeated prospect in Farid, I think this is going to be a tough-ass fight, man.
Because he seems like he's pretty experienced now.
Because he's a southpaw, and he has really long arms. I think his reach is like 74. I might be talking on my ass, but let me double-check what it was. His reach, 73. That was close enough.
Yeah, that's long for you guys, right?
Yeah, I'm 71, and that's like considered really long.
Damn.
Oh, well, Farid is 71 also. At least that's what it's saying here on Topology.
Yeah.
But this guy, Marcus McGee, he trains with Sean O'Malley too. He's got like a similar footwork style, like using the feints, moving. And I think he's a pretty solid dude. I'm looking forward to seeing how he does. Yeah, I think it's a lot of good fights on this one. I wish I was going to be able to go, but I got to go back to New York.
Yeah. I'll be back in the Carolinas for that one.
And when do you go back?
I go back tomorrow.
Tomorrow, like right after you're done the test?
Yeah, I'm doing the test, and I'm going to bring my suitcases with me, and then I'm pretty much right to the airport. I'm going skiing with the family this weekend. And then I'm right into basically a training camp.
Yeah, I got to go back. I'm closing on my house and
I got to take a piss.
Friday.
Can I take a piss real fast?
Yeah, we're about to wrap anyway.
All right, let's wrap it.
I'm closing the house Friday, and then we got Uniondale against Massapequa for the conference finals. So
Heard Uniondale, they lost to Kellenberg?
I heard Kellenberg is really damn good right now.
Yeah, they're beating. They should have beat Wantua, and their kid dislocated their shoulder. If he would have just not dislocated his shoulder in the match, they would have won.
Can you just not get hurt?
I know.
Yeah, because I think that's like an automatic 6, right?
Yeah, that's a game changer.
Yeah, 6 points for the
12-point swing.
12-point swing is crazy.
Yeah, because I think he was supposed to get a pin.
But then, yeah, we have the home match at Uniondale High School, 6:30 p.m. I'm gonna be there for that, and it's senior night and conference finals, which is crazy. So
Nice, man.
This is gonna be a big event.
Hell yeah.
I'm hoping the crowds is packed out, man. I hope people come and actually come show out. So it's gonna be cool to go back home for that. Closing on the house in Baldwin, so I'll be
Nice,
I'll
man.
be a
Yeah,
Baldwin
congrats, baby. Head into my neck of the woods, man.
Yeah.
Baldwin's finest.
And I think that's it. Then going to Abu Dhabi on Sunday.
That's right, man. You excited about that?
I am. Chase Hooper, good match. He promised
Yeah,
not
what do
to
you
pull
think
guard
about
in the
this?
first 30 seconds.
Really? That's
So,
his promise?
That's his promise on Twitter to the world. So after
Especially if
30
you're an
seconds,
MMA fighter. Like, I feel like you can't just pull guard, man. Like, if you're a fighter, like,
Yeah.
you have to see if you could do all right on the feet. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
at least test yourself, get better on the feet.
I hope so. I got to study a little tape on him. But other than that, I don't know if you got anything coming up or.
Well, no. I mean, I'm fighting March 30th, Atlantic City, Bruno Silva. Yeah,
One more time into the fire.
Yeah.
That's what I like to say.
Yeah.
One more time into the fire.
yeah.
I like it, though. That's good. I think it's a good matchup, man. I really do. Obviously, it just comes down to the mental aspect of everything. I think physically, like I think you still move really, really well. You're killer on the ground. So I just think when it comes to the actual fight in itself, it's just, I mean, you got your feet wet. Obviously, the last one didn't go either one of our ways in Boston. But I think this is a good way to kind of bounce back. And
New York people don't do good in Boston.
yeah,
Yeah,
you Boston.
yeah. You
I
still
ain't going back.
You still
Saying
got the
that.
green hair, though.
You know, for Jamaican people.
Yeah, I like it.
I like it. I feel like the Riddler.
I like it, man. It's some good swag right there.
Or like the green Black Lantern.
There you go.
Or the Black Green Lantern, I should say.
Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, other than that, Chris Weidman, all his socials, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, all that. Thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you guys hit that like button. Don't forget, subscribe. See you guys next time. Peace.
Peace.